I am having a hard time recording this intro. This is probably my 12th take because I'm having a very hard time putting into words how enlightening this conversation was. My guest, Abel, is from Cuba. And in Cuba, I realize they have a very strict dictatorship. But man, it is a completely different world in Cuba. It really made me thankful that I was born here in the United States because there's a lot of freedoms that I take advantage of. Like the fact that I can go to Wegmans, I can buy as much food as I want, and I can make anything that I want, right? In Cuba, you don't have those freedoms. And every time I talk to Abel, I feel like I could talk to him for another hour, another hour, another hour. He is such a genuine, nice person. And no matter what's going on, this guy always finds a positive spin to put on things. And I think that is part of his charm on what makes him such a good real estate agent. And not only that, a father, a friend, a husband. And I'm stuttering because I can't. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know I say that a lot, but this one was thought-provoking. It made me feel uncomfortable and really opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I don't want to build up momentum because I just want to get you to the show so you can listen to how awesome Abel is. So here's my guest, Abel.
It's how you look at it. For example, my name is Abel, but if you look at it, Abel, what's Abel, right? Abel, but
Yeah.
Abel, that sounds more empowering. So I choose to go with Abel because it's more empowering, I guess, than just Abel.
Dude, I love it. Dude, that's cool. It's a good play on words. And you're from Cuba, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I moved here 10 years ago.
Why? What was the thing that sparked it?
Persecution, bro.
Really?
My family, I was born a Christian. My dad was the minister, and we were persecuted in Cuba for our religion. So my dad for years tried to flee the country illegally, but he never had success. So then it opened up some doors, and he met some people and said, hey, the U.S. actually gives a certain amount of visas to the world that all the people can qualify. And then he applied for that, and it took like 4 years, and he finally got it. And you go through an interview process. Like, they're not just giving visas left and right to anybody that could come into the country, right? So they want to make sure you're legit and that you're suffering persecution, or you have a legit reason to come to the United States. And so he did, and he brought me with him. So that was 10 years ago.
Wow. So you said persecution from
the government, the communist government,
because they wouldn't let him worship, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, if you know anything about how the communist government works, they really don't like united groups of people. They're all about control over the masses. They have this thing called the CDR, which stands for like Committee of Defense of the Revolution. And pretty much it's like your neighbor could be a spy, and they could be watching what you're doing or what you're saying. It's stuff, man. Like, you're not allowed to eat beef in Cuba.
You're not allowed to eat beef?
Listen, if you kill a cow in Cuba, you get more years in prison than if you kill a person.
What?
And it's not because they worship the cows like in India. It's because they're property of the state. So if you kill a cow, you go to prison for more years than if you kill a person. How's that?
Wow.
So there is a black market. You could buy it, right? But if your neighbor smells it, because they can tell you're cooking beef, they can snitch on you, and you could have the police knocking on your door, dude, search through the house, dude. It's a level of control that people that live in this country really don't appreciate the liberty and the freedom that you have here. Imagine the government controlling every single move, like what you do, what you go to work. They literally have control over everything: the news, the media, the radio. It's just the propaganda on the streets. Like, it's just a brainwashing experience that I grew
Wow.
up with. So coming here was like, oh my god, I'm free to do whatever I want.
Yeah. That must have been there's literally a part of the government that's devoted to preventing revolutions from happening, right? What was the name of it? You just said.
The CDR, the Committee of Defense of the Revolution, and
You have to have a
everybody,
committee for that?
dude, they make everybody be a part of it. Like,
Yes.
they sign you up, and there's like a rotation system. You know how you have the neighborhood watches and people
Oh,
walk
yeah.
around the neighborhoods? It's similar to that in the regard that people go and just check on each other, right, for their well-being, but they're really just making sure that you're not
Cooking beef.
cooking beef, right?
Right.
Or creating a cell that could go up against the government. Because the first thing they did when they took over was confiscate all the weapons. So take all the weapons from the citizens. So now we're powerless, right? We can't fight back to the government. And if you see that there's 2 or 3 people meeting in a room, they want to know what they're talking about and what's going on. And
Man.
sometimes you'll see that the neighbor's X or Y goes missing, and then you never see him again.
Man.
It's tough, man. So coming
I
here to
can
America was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, for that must have been such a culture shock for you. Like my grandparents left Portugal very shortly before they had their revolution, and I remember my grandfather telling me stories that he couldn't hold hands with my grandmother in public. He couldn't kiss in public. There's like a very long list of rules. And when he came to America, how shocked he was, and almost like he was still to the point uncomfortable doing PDA with my grandmother, just simply as like holding her hand and stuff, because it was such a strong culture shock. What was that for you? I mean, 10 years ago, not to pin an age on you when you came over, but how old were you?
Yeah, I was 14 when I came over, and there's this thing when you turn 16, they draft you to the military. So they make everybody go through the military once you turn 16. So I left when I was 14. So by that time, right around that time, it's the sign up process. So I literally left like borderline. If I would have stayed
Wow.
a few months more, they would have drafted me to the military, and I would have not been able to get out of Cuba.
Wow. That's pretty crazy, man. It's you put it very well just a few minutes ago that I don't think people realize how lucky they are. Like the fact that we don't have a mandatory military, like stuff like that. And that
Well,
I
not
could,
only that you can go on Facebook and say whatever you want about the president.
yeah,
I mean, it's
right.
just something as simple as that: freedom of speech, that you can go on social media and say whatever the heck you want, even if you're going to get people upset and they're going to comment, but you're not going to have the government knocking on your door and
Yeah,
taking you away.
right, right. So 14-year-old Abel comes to America. What's the first thing that you wanted to do?
Well, it's funny because I was actually very scared, because that's one of the things they teach in communism. Like, they find an enemy, and the enemy of Cuba is United States. They
Right.
picture they call them the Yankees. That's how they don't call them the USA or the United States. They call them the Yankees. That's how
Huh.
they call the our country. And from an early age, it's like a brainwashing system. From an early age, they make you write essays about how great the revolution is, and then write essays about how bad the U.S. is, and how all the hungry and all the poverty and all the things that are going on in the world is because of the U.S. Right?
Right.
So it was a brainwashing experience, and then coming to America. I had those fears because that's all the things that I've always heard from a kid. Like, the U.S. is bad. You're gonna go there and they're gonna kill you. They're gonna pull a gun and they're gonna, So there was all this stereotype, I guess it's how'd you call it,
Yeah.
because of all the fears that they put on in people of the United States and Cuba. But then I get here, the very first thing that I wanted to do is learn the language. I wanted to be able to communicate with people, and just learn about the culture and help my family in Cuba. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Did you already like know a little bit of English when you came over here, or was that a
Nothing,
fresh
bro.
slate?
Nothing. It was
Wow.
fresh start. And I mean, I came straight to Syracuse. It's not like I went to Florida where everybody speaks Spanish.
Yeah, that's
Um,
like, why Syracuse? Why did your dad decide on here?
so this refugee program sends people out to the different states. So like they literally give
Hmm.
you, okay, you're going to Syracuse, or you're going to Texas, or you're going to Florida, and so you go wherever they tell you to go. We were just happy to be here, so it was Syracuse. No friends or family. It was tough, man. It would imagine being in the school and not being able to understand what the teacher's saying. Um, or like if they ask you a question, even something as simple as my name, right? Abel, we were talking about it right before the stream, and I wouldn't know that they were talking to me because that wasn't how I was used to hearing my name in a
Yeah,
different language. So
with
it was
English, yeah, with another language on top of that.
right. Yeah, so
Right.
it was a tough time to adjust. Now I look back and I was like, man, I wish I could go back to high school. You know, I have a few teachers that I'm still in touch, and I can count it with my hands, the people that I'm still in touch from high school. But I wish I could go back and be able to talk freely and be able to communicate, because there was a lot of people that helped me. But to me, high school was like it's like a blank moment in my life where I barely remember anything.
Right. You just try to get past it, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Man.
much.
Were you taking like English classes, like how to secondary English classes?
Yeah, so they put me in ESL, English as
Mm,
second language, but at the same time, you're still taking the other subjects. You know, your math, your English, your U.S. history, which I failed 3 times.
wow.
It's funny, when I took the Regents, I thought I was gonna fail the English for sure. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be. I'm not gonna graduate from high school. English is gonna be the one that's gonna stop me from doing that. And it was actually U.S. history that stopped me once. So yeah,
Well,
I felt Regents 3 times. No, 2 times, and then I passed it the third time for the US history Regents.
well, if you're gonna fail one, I feel like the U.S. history is probably the one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I was expecting English to be the one that it was going to be the tough one, and it was tough. I think I barely passed, but it was enough for me to pass and say, you know what, I'm done with it.
Right. So Abelman gets done with high school, and then like what were you looking to do when you got out of high school? Did you want to like carry your dad's minister? Like, is he a minister?
He is a minister, yes.
So is that
He's
something that you wanted to do? Was like go into the church?
not really, actually, quite opposite. I feel like because I was born and I saw how
Mhm.
much you struggle and how much I guess there's a reward piece where you're helping people and stuff like that. But at the same time, um, it's not easy being a minister, and I saw that in my dad growing up. So I was like, I really don't want that. I still go to church. I believe in God and everything, but I don't feel like that's my calling.
Mhm.
I worship. I'm in the worship team. I play many instruments, and I love music. And I feel like that's my calling in church, that I can help out. But no, I mean, at 2 months after, so I graduated in June 2014, and by August I was already getting married.
Wow.
So I did not have time to think about what I wanted to do, if I wanted to go to college or anything. I started working while I was in high school because, again, I wanted to help my family in Cuba, help my dad here to pay the bills.
Were you
And I started
sending money
working.
to your family in Cuba?
Yeah, yeah, still
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Well, that just that shows how good of a human being you are. That's all. You're still supporting the family from it, you know.
Well, I
I,
feel like it was a God, a gift, an opportunity for me to come here, because I don't know where I would be if I was still in Cuba. So
right,
the fact that he opened doors and I could be here, that means I could bless other people back in my country.
right. And how did you meet your wife?
So I actually met her in church here, the church that we were going to. She was going to SU, getting her electrical engineering bachelor's, very successful, drove a pretty nice sporty car. I She's 10 years older than me, so I was like, she's so out of my league. Um,
Nice.
I mean, I was just finishing high school. I didn't even have a job at the time, and I started writing songs for her. and she fell in love with me, and we got married right out of high
dude,
school.
you are so smooth, man. You said it
I was
all
like, I got
nonchalantly,
nothing, man.
too.
I got nothing to offer but my music.
Dude, I love that. You're like, I just started writing her music, and then we fell madly in love.
Yeah. No, she kept me in the friend zone for about a year, man. It wasn't easy.
That's funny. That's my wife's older than me too. She's 6 years older than me. So
Okay.
it's funny
right around there.
that you said that, because what are you gonna do, dude? Same
What are you
thing. I
gonna
thought
do?
she was out of
Well,
my league, but joke's on me, right?
I saw it. I was like, yeah, that's wifey material right there. So I'm gonna fight hard to get her.
Dude, that's funny, man. That's so. So you got married, and then I feel like we have to talk about the fact that you were working for Blizzard, the same people who made Starcraft. That poster behind you, and I was an avid Starcraft player. I haven't touched
Really?
it in a while. I was a big Protoss player.
Dude, I'm a
but-
Protoss player. Look, where's my hat? Oh no, I have a Terran hat right here.
Oh,
I have my Protoss hat.
dude. There you
Because
go.
that's my main race.
Listen, don't get it twisted, Abel, because I was maybe a silver league at best. At best, dude. I was probably like fluctuating on bronze and silver. You know, I was always like a game away from being back to to bronze.
I mean, not
league.
to brag, but I could get to silver with one hand with my mouse,
Hey, man.
just doing cannon rush,
man.
and
Dude,
you can get to
cannon
silver.
rush. Wow, that's a term I haven't heard in forever. That's hilarious. So was like video games to you? Did you guys have that in Cuba? Is that an ignorant question? If the government was so controlling, would they not let you play video games? Because that
So
could be mass gathering online.
yeah, you're right. And actually, there is no internet, or there wasn't any internet available. So what people would do is they would have it in flashcards or CD, and then you could go to your friend's house or whoever the richest kid in the neighborhood, because usually they were the ones that had the means to be able to afford a computer. And I'm
Right.
talking like a basic 1990s computer, like
Right.
not nothing fancy or anything like that. And then what we would do is just take turns and play against the AI. And this was going back, to Starcraft Brood War, which was the
Oh,
one that
wow.
everybody was playing. And then I came here. So the very first thing I remember, I will never forget that. So the very first thing that I did in the internet was search for Starcraft.
Oh,
And
that's fun.
that's how I got into, this was 2010. Yeah, I moved here in 2010. And the very first search that I did on internet was Starcraft. And
Well-
ever since, it's been my,
Listen,
my
Abel,
go-to.
not to make this weird, but a 14-year-old boy with the internet for the first time, I for sure wasn't Googling StarCraft. That just shows how nice of a human being you are, Abel. This is all just great examples. Me, I'm just looking up probably stuff a 14-year-old kid shouldn't have been looking at. You know what I mean?
I always associated myself with the older generation. I think it's because I grew up in church, and
Yeah.
it's not like I was the popular kid in the neighborhood. So, who were my friends? The people from church, Bible study,
Right.
older men, and I always associated with the
Older generation.
older kids, and
Yeah.
the older kids were playing StarCraft, so I was learning StarCraft, and that's how it all started.
When you got to America, were you like trying to figure out a way that you could play StarCraft again? Were you like, you internet searched it, right? Was that on your computer or somebody else's?
Somebody else's, yeah. I didn't bring anything but the clothes that I was wearing when I came to America.
Okay,
I had
that makes
nothing,
sense.
nothing, and we were in debt actually because we wanted to come with nice clothes, and by nice clothes I mean jeans and a t-shirt. Because
Yeah.
If you had jeans in Cuba, you were considered like if you have money.
Wow.
I think it's because of the Western culture. The movies, right? You see the people wearing jeans, and if you had jeans, that was considered okay. You're dressed nice. So we borrow some money so we could buy jeans and t-shirts, and that's how we came. Actually, I think I may have a picture up on Facebook from when we came here. But yeah, nothing but the clothes that we were wearing. So we went to this person that was helping us get settled and get the teaching us how to go grocery shopping and where to go to get stuff. And they had a computer, and they was like, oh, here's a computer in case you need to, excuse me, check some email or stuff. I didn't even know what email was at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, internet, okay, I know what I got to do. Starcraft, and I think the first thing that popped up was YouTube. And I remember just going into YouTube and spending hours. I would just sit there, watch people play, and as soon as I could, I saved enough money, I bought the StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty copy, and then I would just install it in the whatever friend's house that I had at the time, and play there.
Right. Dude, that's a crazy story, because it's like, I know it's like growing up, my grandparents came from Portugal, right? So my grandfather came to the United States. I think the Portuguese Revolution was like 74 or 75. I don't know why I want to say that. But my grandfather came over shortly before. So this was a long time ago. We're talking about you just coming over to America 10 years ago, which is not that long. I remember when StarCraft 2 came out. Yeah. I remember downloading it on the release and having it pre-purchased and like ready to rock and load. Like it's so crazy to me that time does not seem very far away to where you're at now. Right, that was a crazy difference. Crazy difference.
Yeah. So I mean, I like I said, I grew up in church, but this was in like a country type of place that we lived at. So from an early age, my dad taught me to work hard. Work on the farm. We lived off the land. So growing up, I was like, I'm going to work hard. And I got here, and it was like so many opportunities. It was literally the land of opportunities. I started working just as I was finishing high school. I worked at a Columbus bakery in downtown.
Yeah. Yep.
So I actually worked in the deli, just making sandwiches. I mean, I remember struggling because I didn't know anything. So my cousin was the one that got me a job there, and I would let her do the talking, and I would just do the prepping. I cut the meat and I would prep the sandwiches and stuff like that until she finally left and said, okay, it's up to you now. So I had to have interaction with customers, and that's really when I started to learn English. So this is like 1.5, 2 years after coming to America, that I could start to speak some words, because I would understand. That was the very first thing that I learned how to do. I would watch a lot of movies, I would watch a lot of series, and I would do the captions in English while listening in English. So I would try to correlate the words with the captions, and that's how I learned it. So I could understand it and I could read. That's how I was able to go through high school, because I could understand some of the stuff they were saying, plus I was able to write and read. But I couldn't speak for dude. I would get tongue twisted, and I was also very shy and very afraid to speak. So working in customer service pushed me to go beyond my comfort zone, and just having that interaction with people. And some customers were great, and they would correct me in my accent, like say, oh, that's not how you say this. Some other customers would get annoyed and just leave. Right. But overall, I think that job was the one that really had the biggest impact in me learning English.
That's pretty crazy. The fact that the job, I mean, it's a brilliant idea, really, to do the to watch the TV show, the movie with the captions to learn English. That's something that I never, man, I'm having like this feeling of, I don't know if I would want to say guilt, or because it's not, I don't feel guilt, but like this is the shit. Like I don't have to think about any of this. You know what I mean? Like
right.
You had to watch the movies not for entertainment value, but so you can learn the language. You know what I mean? Like, and it's this this idea of being in a totally new country. I can understand why you'd be nervous, right? Because you could be one wrong accent away from accidentally offending somebody, right?
Well, especially even in school, like people are making fun of you. Like I remember the very first thing that I learned how to say was "I don't know," so that people wouldn't ask me questions. Like if they asked me a question, I felt like that was a safe answer to say "I don't know," and then they would just leave me alone. And I remember once, I think this was a global history teacher, and he asked some question, and he said Abel. And I knew they were talking to me because now I knew that was my name, and everybody's looking at you like expecting an answer. And I said, I don't know. And the teacher said, don't you know any other phrases or words, something like that it's not I don't know? And I reply, I don't know. And the whole class started laughing.
It's the loop.
So exactly. So it was very embarrassing, the fact that I couldn't talk back to the people.
Right. Well, and it's like then you're playing StarCraft 2, and you were putting out these, like, was it instructional videos, or was it just you like playing StarCraft? Like, how did it start to the point where the creators of StarCraft reached out to you to be a part of what they were doing? How did the ball get rolling with that?
So I was, like I said, I was always big into watching YouTube videos since I came here to America. That was the first thing I Googled, and I would watch Husky. I don't know if you saw any of his videos. H to the H Husky here,
H to the H Husky. Yep.
Yeah. So I would watch his videos, and I really like how the energy, and Day 9 and all these great commentators, they would just give so much energy and make the game look so much fun. Like, it's competitive. In the blue corner we have the player from Argentina playing against the American player, the Protoss, on the bottom left, and they really make it like you're watching a football game or a basketball game. And I was like, oh, I really like that. And I started doing it in Spanish because obviously I couldn't do English, so I started doing videos and streaming in Spanish of me playing against other people online. I think the highest I ever got was Masters. That's the highest I ever got with Protoss. And I would post videos, and then by that time there was this tournament. This is an American called Copa America, which all the players from South and North America played against each other, and it was like a legit tournament. And I started doing videos about it, and that's how the people from the Blizzard organization reached out and say, hey, would you like to do this for a living? We would really like if you came on and started just casting games from professional players. And I was like, yeah, I like that.
That must have been wild, huh?
Yeah. So, I mean, most of this, I started doing songs. Like, I would write songs with popular songs out there. I would just change the lyrics. I would use the background music, but it's all about StarCraft or the video games, and people started to watch, and that's how it all started, man.
That must have been wild, getting it like an email from Blizzard saying, hey, you want to do this full time? I would have been like, listen, I've been an avid World of Warcraft player since Burning Crusade came out, just before that, 2008, I think 2009, somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
If they came to me and said, do you want to work for us? I'd be like, that's a no-brainer. Absolutely, I'd want to work with you.
And the pay was great, man. So it's not only you're enjoying the game, they also pay you really well. Like, for a weekend, I would earn $500 on a weekend just commentating. And that would be like, I don't know, 16 hours on a weekend. So like 8 hours on a Saturday, 8 hours on a Sunday, and
boom, $500.
$500. And to me, that was like, oh my gosh, I have so much money, right? Doing stuff that I really like.
Right.
But it wasn't like every weekend. It's like every time there's an event or like a tournament, something like that. So it wasn't like a stable job, but I didn't see it as a job. To me, it was like, I'm having fun. I'm meeting people. I'm playing the game that I like. To me, it was like, I would do it for free. You don't even have to pay me.
Yeah. You didn't want to tell them that, though. Right.
No, it was nice, the fact that they paid. It helped get to upgrade my computer. And then the sponsors, of course, I mean, they would give me, like, HyperX will give me headsets, and I would be able to wear those live. And
nice.
It was nice, dude. Like, thinking back to those days, and even going to BlizzCon and seeing it live in California, they paid for the flight, they paid for the hotel, they had a car waiting for me. It's like, I felt like I was a king. I just texted like, I'm here, and here comes a car to pick me up. It
Right.
takes me to all these places, and then I go to the BlizzCon, and I get a VIP pass, and I'm amongst people from all over the world that travel just to see the games and the costumes, and dude,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
That is so cool. What a unique thing. Like that must have been a powerful experience. Huh? That must have been like, man,
Yeah, I mean, think about it. People say, "Oh, this guy's just playing video games," right? They're quick to judge, like, "Oh, it's just stupid video games," right? And all the things that you heard from a kid, "Oh, don't spend too much time playing video games," and things like that. But I was actually taking it to another level. I wasn't just wasting my life playing video games. I was actually trying to build something. And I think that, by the time I retired from all of that, I was actually pretty happy at where I was. It was right around when Blizzard started to change management, and they weren't doing so well as a company anymore, and the staff changed. So it wasn't really, how corporate works, man. Corporate is all about the numbers and sales, and it's not about making the game fun anymore. It's about how much money they can make off the game. So it was right around that time when I retired.
Was it when Activision bought Blizzard? I can't remember when they did. I feel like it was.
I think it was right around that time. Yeah.
Because that's been everybody's gripe is when Activision took over Blizzard. That's when like the World of Warcraft content changed. That was when everything was more focused now on how can we squeeze each game for as much dollars as possible. And that was an overall general census from the players. Everybody was kind of upset that Blizzard did it, but they were a powerhouse. Like Blizzard Entertainment, they're responsible for Warcraft, Starcraft, Overwatch now.
Warcraft 3,
Diablo. How to forget Diablo? Like these are all massive games.
I mean, they really changed the gaming industry. And it was shortly after that Mike Morhaime retired too. I mean, he was like one of the most loved guys. He was the founder of Blizzard Entertainment. So yeah, once you go into the corporate America and you're a publicly traded company, it's all about the numbers and how much money you're bringing in, and it's not about let's make the game better. Let's do more tournaments.
Abel, the average playing time is only a half hour. That only equals about $20 per minute. We got to crank that average playing time up. We got to get those numbers up and then it just turns into something that you don't love and that you're not
exactly. And that's why everybody started leaving.
Right.
I mean, they made Starcraft free to play, and they announced it about a year ago that they would not have any support for Starcraft. Like there won't be any new content coming on or anything. It was like, what you got it, that's it.
Yeah. They did the same thing for. Did you ever play Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah, I played that since it came out.
Yeah, same thing. That I was kind of bummed because that's my favorite Dota, Defense of the Ancients. For those listening, don't know, it's like a hero-based game, and that was fun because it had characters from all over the Blizzard universe. And when they said that they were gonna stop putting out content, I was like, man, that's too bad because that was a really fun game. What?
Yeah, I mean, and if you were live at BlizzCon, seeing how much people were there to see the games, like it felt better than a basketball game or a football game because it was like a stadium. Like picture a stadium full of people chanting and watching the game live. It was a real thing, man. So to see that the company just turns the back on the game, that it was making so many people happy and also raising a lot of money. I mean, they were giving the price for the first place was $100,000.
That's crazy.
So if you won that tournament, you get $100,000. And I think they had prices all the way down to the eighth place. So like there was a lot of money being moved in these tournaments, and these were like worldwide tournaments, and they just turned the back of the game on the community, on the people, and I guess the numbers really show it now. I mean, you don't barely hear anything about Blizzard games anymore.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's definitely some things to be excited for, right? I mean, every time they come out with a World of Warcraft expansion, I pick that up, play it for about a couple months, and then I kind of petter off, and then Diablo 3 looks pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that. When you were doing like your YouTube videos, was the idea just like, hey, I want to put out awesome content of something that I love, or was it more strategized like, okay, every week I need to put out a video, so I need to think of X, Y, and Z, or were you just shooting from the hip and just kind of like messing around with edits and stuff?
No, actually, and no edits or anything. I would do the live stream and export to YouTube, and I was just
Oh,
having fun.
immediately.
Yeah, immediately. I wasn't really doing any editing or anything like that. No strategic or planning for the future. It was like I'm having fun. I'm loving what I'm doing, and yeah, I mean, I never thought I would reach so many people. I remember there was a tournament in Mexico once, and it was going to be the host for the World Cup in Mexico. So,
Whoa.
and they invited me to go and commentate because obviously it was going to be in Spanish. They were going to have an English stream and a Portuguese stream and they were going to have the main event, which was going to be in Mexico in Spanish, and they wanted me
Big
to
show for Abel right there, dude. That's
Uh,
Spanish speaking in Mexico.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. But then I wasn't a U.S. citizen at the time.
Mm,
So I was like, I can't go. I can't get a visa. I won't be, I won't be becoming an American citizen until like a year from then. So I couldn't go. And people started to send me pictures from the crowd with my logo. And they were like, "We need Cubano." That was actually my name or my nickname in the gaming, Cubano.
Cubana.
And yeah, and they would have the signs from the crowd, so I could see it like from the camera and the live stream when they were putting in the public. And it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm here from my room making videos about me having fun playing a game and commentating about the game, and
Right.
that now here's people in other countries that are we want this guy to be here live on stage
Yeah.
commentating. So yeah, it was a good feeling.
That's wild. When you see, I sometimes I talk to people and they're like, I don't get why people watch video games. And I remember explaining it to my mom once because I remember like when StarCraft announced grand prize was $100,000. I think at the time that was the most any video game tournament had
Yep.
given out at that point. Right
Yep.
now, I think there's like CS:GO tournaments that
Yeah,
are
you
higher.
got League of Legends and you got other
Yeah.
games,
Right.
Fortnite that are paying millions now.
Right.
But
Right.
it all
And that's
started with Blizzard.
right, and that was a big deal. And I remember telling my mom about it. Like, can you believe they're giving 100,000? My mom was like, "Why do people want to sit and watch other people play a video game?" And it's the same reason people want to sit and watch other people play basketball. It's the same
Exactly.
thing. It's the same
Same
thing why
thing.
people want to sit and watch golf. I am not a golfer, and dude, there is no way I'm gonna sit down and watch a golf game. You know what I
I'm
mean?
with you on that, bro.
There's no way. But a StarCraft game, I might sit through on that. But some people feel like there's a wall that it's too complicated of a strategy game because there's a lot of moving pieces into it, right?
Mhm. I
But
mean, it took years before I was any good at the game, and before I was invited to commentate for Blizzard. It took years, and you
yeah,
would
it's a
have to
steep learning
stay.
curve.
And actually, I retired for two reasons. Number one, because of how the company they were changing their culture and everything that we know that happened. And number two, because I didn't have the time. So remember, I got married right out of high school, and we had our daughter a year after that. So, and while all that is happening, I'm still working for a time. I'm still caring for my daughter and my family. Bought my first home, and I was spending the whole night. I would stay up all night just watching games, staying up to date with the players, so that when I'm commentating, I could give them the real time statistics of how the players were doing, and I would actually have facts to talk about. Because it's not just talk about what's going on in the game. You got to talk about the certain play style that a player has versus the other player,
Right.
and identify the builds that they're doing, and how many games they've lost against each other in the past. You have to have all this information.
Right.
So I was just spending a lot of time studying for that, and it just got to the point where I was like, it's not fun anymore. It's not me having fun.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. I'm working full time. I'm missing out on my daughter, my daughter time, or spending time with my wife, or just doing anything else. I was just literally in front of a computer watching the games all night so that I could stay up to date to the
Yeah.
statistics. And I finally said, you know what, it's time for me to retire. I had fun. I've seen it all. It's time to move on to the next big thing.
So now you just do StarCraft videos every now and then, huh?
Yeah, actually, I haven't posted anything in a while. I think last year, because of COVID and there was a lot of stay at home, and also because in Cuba now, there's a handful of people with internet, and a lot of them are actually starting to come and play StarCraft. And they had this tournament in Cuba, and I was really excited to see people from Cuba play. And I was actually volunteered to stream, and I streamed some of the games, and I posted some videos about it. But if you go to my YouTube channel, you see the last videos are all about songs. I had a freestyle battle against another commentator from Mexico, and
I love it.
And it was like, he would say things about me, and then I would say things about him. So the last few videos in my channel are all about that. Yeah, I really stopped doing the video game. I want to say 2019. Yeah, so like 2 years ago, I retired. I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing any more streaming or any more
content,
commentating, any more content. Right, I really gave up on that 2 years ago.
Interesting. Well, you said you had purchased your house with your wife right at the time when you guys had gotten married, and now you're a real estate agent, right? Like what?
That's right.
What brought you to make the moves to get into real estate?
So I want to say part of it was the experience that we had when we bought our first home. It wasn't really a pleasant experience. We bought into a flood zone, and I feel like the agent was just a transaction. He wasn't really that helpful, and it's not like we knew what we were doing, right? We're both immigrants, and we're still learning about everything. So we trusted this person to guide us through the process of buying a home, and we ended up doing I don't want to say a really bad deal, but it could have been better.
Yeah.
And then we had to move out of that house. It flooded twice, and the flood insurance was just too much to handle, too high. And the person that sold the house was the person that got me into real estate, because I was so moved by how she was able to find this house for her client. And our house was not even in the market at the time. And she reached out and say, hey, I have this client is looking for a house, and it's just that your house is exactly what she's looking for. She had a divorce, and she really needs a home really soon. And, she would like to make you an offer. So I looked at my wife and I said, hey, if we're going to sell the house, I mean, might as well do it now. And they made us an offer. And I remember telling the agent, she goes, do you have any questions? I was like, yeah. Are you going to help us find our home? Because now we're like, okay, we're selling our house, but we don't have a place to go. Right. So she helped us find our current home, and we closed on the sale of our old home and the purchase of the new home at the same time. So She worked out 3 deals.
There you go.
In one. But I was really moved by how she worked and her work ethic and how hard worker she was. And like, I saw that she cared about her clients. It wasn't just a transaction.
Right.
She really wanted the best for her client and the best for me. And I was like, you know what?
If it's something positive, we can mention the agent's name. What was her name or his name
Christy Cronizer.
Oh, okay.
Christy from GRG. Christy, yeah. She was the person that pulled everything off, and I kept in touch with her because I remember telling her, hey, if I ever wanted to get into real estate, would you be available for me to reach out and ask questions and talk to you? And she goes, absolutely. So I asked her out on a lunch date, professional date, and she was like, hey, so you kept on your word, and you want to pursue real estate? I was like, yeah. Tell me all about it. And she guided me through the whole process and got me started. And man, I couldn't be happier than
That's
cool.
I am. And did you when you became a real estate agent, did you do it completely full time, or did you do it as like a part-time gig for a little while?
No, part time because again, I've family, lots of bills, a lot of family to support, so I couldn't
Yeah.
afford the instability of becoming a real estate agent. So I still had to work full time, and do real estate on the side.
That's pretty cool. And when you became a real estate agent, what did you leave? Like, what did you quit doing?
Nothing, man. I feel like I'm always trying to add on to what I'm doing. I didn't really quit anything, um, except my time, I guess, because
Right.
now I'm on the road all the time and on the weekends,
What
and
was what was the job you were doing before you were a real estate agent?
so I'm still there. I haven't left my current company yet because two reasons. One, I have a lot of responsibility, and two, um, again, I still need that. I guess paycheck to pay the bills.
Yep.
Um,
I hear you.
so yeah, no, I work for Entering Microwave. It's called now TTM Technologies,
Mm.
and we do space and defense
Well,
work, just like Lockheed Martin. They're actually
yeah.
one of our customers, and I've been there for 6 years.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
6 years. And it was the place that taught me how to be a professional,
Hmm.
because I grew from a floor level operator to a supervisor that I am now. And it really taught me how to communicate through an email, professional, how to talk to another professional. And um, I mean, like I said, I'm still there. I mean, it's a great place to work.
Yeah.
Who knows what the future will be? I do see real estate as a business, not as a hobby. I'm not doing it as a hobby like I was doing with Starcraft. I treat it as a business. I take it 100% serious, and maybe in the future that'll be my full time business. And even my wife is starting to get some interest in real estate, just because the
Uh-oh.
fact that you're helping people, right?
Ramirez team. I smell it
Ramirez
coming.
team, yeah,
You got Shauna listening right now, just salivating, just
just
waiting.
yeah,
No,
Ramirez
that's dude. There's some people who
Realty.
the one thing I don't like is there's almost like a negative connotation out of an agent that works another job. And I think it's the silliest frame of mind ever, because I don't think it totally matters how you spend your time. I think what is more important is how you treat your clients and how you work with them in a professional manner, right? Like, there's a lot of great agents that I know that work a 9 to 5 job, and they do more business than me, and they've been doing it a lot longer than me, and they're
Yeah,
successful at it.
if you think about it, most people go out to see houses after work and on the weekends.
Right.
So, I mean, it works out.
Right.
I'm not as busy as I could have been if I was doing it full time, but it's enough for me to stay busy every weekend
Yep.
and almost every single day after work.
Right.
I have always stuff coming up. Like I was texting you today about, one of your listings that I have
Right.
someone out of state that is relocating to Syracuse, and they were looking at one of your listings. So I'm always busy, and I really like it, man. It doesn't feel like I'm working. Like I'm working 24/7, but it doesn't feel like I'm working. It feels like I'm doing something meaningful, and I really enjoy doing it. And I think that's what makes the difference, right? Because
Yeah.
you're happy doing it, you're helping people, you're making a difference, and that's what makes it so rewarding.
Right. And I think that's what a majority of people get into the business for, is because of the sense of uh man, I've said this so many times, and I know Shauna loves this line, and I say this all the time, but it's an opportunity for me to fill my cup as well as somebody else's, right? Like,
Yep.
I'm helping them make their steps into purchasing their first home, second home, forever home, whatever that may be. And I get to feel like I made an impact because I came from retail. In retail, you just punch the clock, you stock shelves, you point a customer where they go, and you say, see you later. There wasn't very much sense of accomplishment until I got to like an upper manager position. You know what I mean? And this job totally gives me a sense of accomplishment. I kind of got in this business for a little bit selfish reasons. I think I could admit that, because I wanted to feel good about what I was doing for a living, and selling dog food wasn't it, dude. Selling dog food and horse panels just wasn't it for me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It just wasn't for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we all got to find whatever makes us happy. And I agree 100% with what you just said. I mean, buying a house is probably, I think it's safe to say, the biggest investment of the average person. Because not everybody starts a business. Not everybody goes out to become a Jeff Bezos or, the founder of Microsoft, whatever, the Elon Musk. Everybody is different. And for most people, buying a house or selling a house is their biggest investment. And you want to make sure you have somebody that you trust and that it's going to care for you. And it's not just a transaction, like you were saying, just pointing out a customer where the milk is, or, things like that. They stay for life. I mean, I have customers that I've never met in my life that I was able to meet through real estate. And now they're like long life friends, that I will have for the rest of my life. And they really appreciate me for helping them buying their first home. And it's really rewarding to see that, hey, I am really making a difference for these people.
Right. And that's it's definitely an interesting business. It's so weird because there is not a business that I can think of that has this kind of I'm trying to think of the word, this kind of structure, because we do a lot of work, and there's a lot of times we don't get paid for the amount of work that we do. And I try to explain it to people as like, imagine you went to work for a whole entire week, and then at the end of the week, the boss said, we didn't meet our quota, so you guys don't get your paycheck. You'd be kind of frustrated, right?
Yep.
Then there's other weeks where they're like, hey, you worked an 8-hour shift, but hey, here you go. Here's your paycheck for the day. You're like, what? Where did this come from? You know what I mean? So there's like these different sides of this job that are just interesting. It's much
a roller
different
coaster, man. I mean, you have the people that really don't appreciate what you're doing. They think that real estate agents are, and I've actually heard people joke around like, oh, I'd rather sell real estate than doing that, when they're saying like something's really bad and they don't want to do it. They'll say, oh, I'd rather sell real estate than doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's like you said, it's a roller coaster. You have really good moments, but then you have really bad moments. I mean, you're going to encounter people that are going to require that you're there 100% of the time at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. They don't care if you're sick. They don't care if you're with your family. They don't care if it's the weekend, Sunday morning, you're at church. They really want you to be there. And if you don't answer the phone, or you don't answer the text or email, then they send you a nasty, what are you doing? So you have those kind of clients. Then you have the other clients that, really see what you're doing and see the hard work that you're doing. So it's a roller coaster, man. You go through those cycles, right? Where you work an entire week and you don't get to see a paycheck. And then the weeks that you're kind of slow, and then you do get a paycheck. Because that's just the nature of the beast.
Roller coaster is a good way to put it, because there are moments where you feel like you kind of want to pull your hair out and kind of everything's falling apart, right? Like there's some days I call it, you ever have a shower beer? You ever just get your ass kicked by the whole day? You crack open a beer and take a shower. You're like, screw it. You're like, screw it. No rules today. I'm going on. I'm off the hinges now. I don't care. I'll have a shower beer. And then there's other days where you're like, everything just seems to be going too good to be true.
Yeah.
It's.
And I mean, this real estate market has been crazy. I mean, I started in March 2020.
March 2020, huh?
March 2020 was when I started. So no previous experience. I was just, doing my regular job, no sales experience. My communication skills have definitely improved since I started real estate, but no experience, man. So I got into the COVID real estate market and I just learned it. I didn't have anything to compare it.
Yeah,
This is
right.
what I learned. So I adopted a very aggressive style of real estate agent. I was very aggressive on the offers and the terms, and
Right.
I can get you the deal. I can make the deal work. And I lost some clients because of that, but I also gained some clients because of that. So
Yeah.
some clients were not comfortable with me being, I guess, pushy. Because I was like, hey, we got to submit this offer before 6 p.m. and we have to make sure we put the best terms possible, and we do escalation clause and offer as much as you can if you really want this house. And I adopted the very aggressive style of real estate, and I lost some customers because of that. I'm gonna admit that, but I also gained a lot of them because they would come to me and say, hey, I've been looking for a house for a year now, and I can't find a house. And I was like, hey, I can find it. I will find you a house and I can get you an offer accepted. But I would be honest with you, then I would tell you we have to set expectations before you go in, because you're not going to get the house if you're submitting below asking price and you're still asking for a home inspection and radon, and you're putting all these contingencies that are going to make your offer just go to the bottom of the pile, So yeah, no, it's a roller coaster, man. I've had my sad moments where I've questioned, should I be doing this? And then my happy moments were like, yeah, this is why I'm doing this. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to know that when you have those moments, should I be doing this? It's important to remind yourself the reason why you got into it, right? Not like, oh man, this is why is this happening to me? This is like, just remember all the good shit that you're doing and all the good stuff you're putting out there. That's the reason you got into real estate. You know what I mean?
And that I got a family to support too. I got a lot of people that depend on me, and obviously that's a motivation. But like you said, why I started doing this, helping people avoid what I went through in my first experience buying a house, making the difference, being that real estate agent that will give you the best advice and really go above and beyond for you. I mean, that really again give you a sense of purpose, I guess.
Right.
That is really rewarding.
Right. Yeah, it was exactly like we were saying earlier, that sense of rewarding and accomplishment. And it's sometimes this business, you were talking about how you lost some clients, but like you said, man, you set expectations off the jump. And when I have a kind of like a step-by-step thing, like if it's you come to me and you're interested in a house and we show, say, like 5 houses, and then you want to put a purchase offer in, you've never seen one, we do something kind of similar to this where I share my screen, we do the whole purchase contract together, we talk about all the terms, we talk about the contract, and I'm having like the same conversation with people. Is we have to be aggressive and remember you talk to the listing agent, you do your due diligence ahead of time, see what kind of competition you're up against, because there's a difference in how you write a purchase contract when there's only 3 people versus when there's 15 people. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's always like, I always try to frame it in that sense that I'm like, so far there's 10 offers on the table. Guess what? The chances that somebody waived a home inspection is very high. And I know you might not be comfortable with that. And I know that even makes me as a real estate agent uncomfortable. Do you love this house? Yes. How bad do you want this house? If you want to do a home inspection, we can do it. We'll just have to figure out a way that we can word how we're going to do this. But when they see home inspection, just know the chances drop a little bit. Or an EMD check, we're only doing $1,000 EMD rather than like 3,000 or something a little bit more, right? How much can we put down? As much as you can, because anything is going to help us, because there's probably somebody who's putting 20% down. And it's a very weird conversation because real estate agents have a very terrible persona to the public that we are just trying to pull one over on everybody, right? That we're kind of like slimy salespeople, right? There are definitely those kind of people in this business, but that is a dime a dozen, right? I can think of 10 great agents to one kind of cruddy agent You know what I
And
mean?
you're gonna find those kind of people everywhere you go.
Everywhere. Dude,
I mean, if you're gonna
everywhere.
talk about, you know, bad people, and that's just everywhere you go. It's
Right,
just
exactly.
human
Exactly.
beings, right?
So I'm always tiptoeing that line where I'm like, I don't want you to think that I'm trying to take advantage. I'm just, listen, this is how the market is. This is what's happening. I like that you were using the term setting expectations, because that is what it is. The first time I meet somebody and they say, Cory, I want to buy a house, or I got pre-approved, I want to start taking a look at houses, I usually do not say, okay, let's go do a show. It's like I have a buyer appointment with you. I sit down, I give you the expectations. Hey, this is what we can expect. This is kind of the standard. This is what's happening right now. You know, things go on the market Wednesday. There's some kind of deadline Sunday night, maybe Monday if we're lucky. But this is kind of like I'm setting their expectations up. And I notice that when I do that, not only are they more educated, they make better decisions, and I'm writing less offers. Like I'm not writing 10 offers with you anymore. We
Cory,
lost out on the first one.
I have one client that I don't know how many times I've explained this to them already. When they see asking price, they see this exaggerated number that is supposed to be I don't want to say starting point of negotiation, but they look at it from, okay, they're asking 200 for the house. That means we can come in at 180 and then negotiate it to 190.
Right.
You know, it's like, no, they're asking 200 and you're going to offer 220 and hoping that you do an escalation clause to 230 and somewhere in between, we're going to get the house.
Right.
And again, not getting into the terms, just about price.
And that's not going to win you not sometimes the purchase price can go out the window. All the terms are the meat and bones of that soup right there.
So another thing that I've adopted is, if you're pre-approved, I'm suggesting that we look at houses that are $15,000 to $20,000 less than what you're pre-approved. So that way you have some that way you have some room, right? You have some room to submit an offer with an escalation clause and get the house that you want. Because if you're pre-approved for 200 and you're looking at houses of 200, you know how they do the 2049, you're not going to get it for 200. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just that the market right now, just like you, there's 100 people looking for a house and there are no listings. So whatever you see available, 100 other people are looking at that house, and some of them don't even have a choice because they got a divorce or they have a situation worse than you, and they're willing to pay more for the house.
Right.
That's just the nature of what's going on right now. So it's really hard for some customers to understand that. And I really try my best to not come across as too aggressive or like I'm looking out for myself because I'm going to earn a higher commission. It's like, no, it's not about that. I'm really trying to ask that question that you said. I think that's the best line. How bad do you want this house?
Right.
Because everything else is going to depend on that, on how bad do you want the house. If it's like, oh, I really like this house, let's submit an offer. If we get it, fine. If not, then whatever. Then okay, yeah, no worries. We can do that. But if it's a house that you really want, it's like, this is the house of my dreams. This is this is the school district that I want my kids to, and you want the house really bad, that's when you have to consider your options and make your offer more appealing. Otherwise, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, right. And it's like you mentioned about those clients that are still thinking about going under and stuff. And it's almost like when I deal with those clients, I do my best, like you're doing, is to educate them, right? To tell them, hey, things aren't going under list price. This is not really the market. Things are actually going like 15, 20, and even some cases 30 grand over list price. And it's not until they've had heartbreak, at least once or twice, that it seems like they're like, okay,
right. Yeah, you're right.
Abel's right. He maybe he has a point, but it's having that conversation with them up front. And also, man, when I get an offer declined by the listing agent, I'm always like, please give me some tidbit. Let me use this as a learning experience. Did the other offer go higher than us? Or did they have better financing? Did they waive a home inspection? Give me some kind of piece that I can use this as a learning experience for my buyers, because then I can go back to them and say something like, hey, listen, the other offer, they didn't give me a solid number, but they said they went higher than us. We went only $5,000 above list price. So maybe this next one, maybe we need to be somewhere in the ballpark of like 15, 20 with our escalation clause. You know, like kind of stuff like that. That is, it's like it's almost as I'm typing that offer that's below list price, you kind of have that thing in your head where you're like, I don't think this is gonna work, but I'm gonna say my Hail Marys anyways and see what happens. And then it comes back, you're in a 20 offer bid situation and it didn't tick. But it's a learning experience, right? And trying to use it for the best is what I try to do the most. It's just so difficult, dude. Even people, man, even I've been working with this kid, and he is such a great buyer. He's got 20% down on a conventional loan. He has so much room. He's always looking at houses that need TLC, like ones that would push more people away. And this kid is just getting heartbreak after heartbreak from people coming in and buying it with cash, you know? And there's nothing. Cash is king. There's nothing I can do on that. Nothing. I just feel bad for some of these first-time home buyers.
Yeah, and it's like you said, you know, it's after they get a few heartbreaks that then they really understand what's going on. I mean, you and I know about it because we've been suffering this for the last year and a half, and we want to prevent that from happening to new clients. But you know, it's almost like they have to go through it at least once or twice before they realize, oh yeah, you were right. Let's start changing our strategy a little bit so that we can have a better chance.
Right. And that's just, man, what a market to start in. I started in 2018 and it was competitive, but not like this, just in competitive in terms like 2018, you're still going to be up against offers, right? But they were like 5 offers, 4 offers. That's great. I can manage that. I can make us look beautiful. But when it's 20 freaking offers, dude, I was in 24 offer situation a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, man, 24, like, what do we got to do? The buyer's got to offer to pay for the seller's kids' braces. The buyer's got to send the seller's kids to college to get this. Like, it's just it's insane, man. What a crazy time to start, because that's only going to make you that much better.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that this will be a learning experience for the future, and I know it will.
Oh, no doubt.
Because obviously this will not stay the way it is forever. I think this COVID-19 changed the world in every way, not only from how we deal, you know, face to face, but also the perspective. Like this whole seller's market. I mean, I hear it from other agents that there hasn't been such a strong seller's market ever in history. I mean, we've had seller's market and buyer's market, but it's normally dictated by supply and demand, and you have some range, right? So some sigma deviations that are, you know, within some range that are, you know, okay, seller's market are here, buyer's market. This is like seller's markets are way up here now.
Yeah.
Like it's not within 2 or 3 standard deviations. This is way off the chart.
Right.
It's nothing like we've ever seen before. So that's why it's so difficult for buyers to find a house. And we're going to look back at 2020, I don't know, 5, 10 years, 15 years from now and be like, yeah, we're starting to see the pattern again. And we might see another market like we saw in 2020 and start getting ready for that. So I'm excited because, again, I didn't have any previous experience. So I didn't have to erase any past, you know,
bad
I was
habits.
like, okay, bad habits, right? This is the way it is. And there you go. Just learn it and go with it.
Damn. That's a good way to end. Abel, do you want to plug anything? Like, I know you're doing the local legends thing. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I haven't done one in a couple of weeks because I've been really busy. But I started this actually because I got a call from somebody in Canada, and they were offering this service. And this service was like, oh, you know, we don't sell leads, but we help you connect with business owners, and then you can get referrals. And it was like this crazy subscription amount that you had to pay a year. And I was like, you know what? I already know some business owners, and I have my gear that I can go and film, and I know some basic editing, I could start meeting small business owners and chatting with them just like we're chatting today, and having this 20 to 25, 30-minute podcast, right? And talk about who they are, what they do, what services they provide, and how do they help the community. That was the
Right.
whole thing. And I've done like 5 so far, and it's been one of the most enlightening experiences of my life, because not only are you helping them connect with the community, but you're also learning from their experiences,
Right.
how they started, and how they went from working in sales to starting a business, and how they're helping the community, how they're making a difference in the community now. So it's been really enlightening for myself. And I think it's that spark. It lights a spark inside my life. It's like, okay, if they did it, then I can do it too.
Right.
And they say you are what you surround yourself with. So if I surround myself with legends, then eventually I'll become a legend too. So I like to think about it that way. And it's like a win-win situation. I'm helping them get more business while I'm helping myself by not only getting some exposure online, but also learning about their experiences and getting tips. I've gotten so many good feedback from people about this local legends. Like this shirt right here was made from Liana, and she was on my local legends show
Nice.
not too long ago. So again, it's doing what you love and finding what makes you happy and what lights that fire inside of you. And they say, do what you love and you'll never work a single day of your life.
And that is how we're going to end the podcast. That was beautiful, dude.
Yep.
That was great, man. I thank you for doing this. I know,
dude, thank you for inviting me. Like Shauna,
yeah.
When I met with Shauna, she was like, oh, you got to meet Cory. You're going to love Cory. You guys are going to be best friends. And I was like, okay, I'm going to see. He's probably a friend suggestion by now, because I have so many other agents. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to Cory. Yeah, that's the guy. And I was like,
did you ever watch Step Brothers?
No.
No, never watched. Okay, so in Step Brother, when you had sent me the friend request, I do the thing that everybody does. You kind of stalk the person, right? You kind of look at their profile, and it says Abel Ramirez worked for Blizzard, right? And in Step Brothers, there's a scene where the two brothers are like, "Did we just become best friends?" And the other brother goes, "Yup," before he even finished the sentence. And the second I saw that, I went, "Dude, we're gonna click.
Boom, we're gonna be best friends."
I know it, dude. That's so funny.
That's great,
dude. Thank you for doing this, and I appreciate your time.
Dude, thank you for inviting me. This is awesome. I'm honored to be on your podcast, dude.